Hello, thank you for tuning in. I am Katie Pushy, and I'm here with a dear friend that I've known for many years. We've worked on projects, we've inspired each other, and she is a powerful lady. This is Mimi Thrasher, and she is thriving in her relationship. And every phone call we've had in the last few months, I've heard a little bit about her relationship and what she's doing to keep it going strong, how she's dealing with differences and struggles, and it's very impressive. I'm learning a lot, and I want you to also gain out of what she's experiencing in her relationship so you can have more grace, more fun, more ease. And Mimi, I would love to hear, what are you experiencing in your relationship?
Wow, thank you, Katie, so much for giving me this opportunity to share because when I do this kind of thing, I'm usually sharing about something related to business or some other aspect of my life, but not about my relationship. And I have to tell you, I have the juiciest relationship that I could possibly imagine. I can't imagine it getting any better, and every day it gets better. So, and for me, sharing about it is one of my favorite things to do. When I am able to do something that can support that I overcome something and I can share it with somebody else, that's my favorite thing to do. So thank you for having me here today. So when I was, I'm going to share a whole bunch of stuff, and just interrupt me whenever you want to ask a question.
Yes.
So in the past, when I would have a relationship, even in my marriage, I was waiting for the relationship to happen to me. I was waiting for things to go well. I was waiting for my husband to be a certain way or to do certain things. I had certain expectations, and things didn't always go the way I thought they should go. And I just thought that that's the way marriage went. Ultimately, I landed up getting divorced from Alan. It was a mutual thing, but it was a creation because we decided we wanted different things in life. And I decided that before I started dating again, that I was going to do a few things because I was going to be more invested in how the relationship is and what I bring to the relationship. So instead of waiting for things to happen to me, I was going to be proactive about making the relationship the best that it could be. So one of the first things, and I highly recommend this one, is to read the book about love languages. Know what your love language is. I can't remember the author off the top of my head. And know what your partner's love language is. Or know what kind of a partner you want in a relationship that has a love language. So there's 5 love languages. One is words of affirmation, one is touch, one is quality of time, and off the top of my head, I can't remember the other 2. But I'm a touch person, and very close behind is words of affirmation. And I'm blessed. Gary is a words of affirmation, and very close behind is touch. Mm-hmm. So he has no issue with me walking up behind him and putting my arms around him and telling him I love him, in the middle of the day, because that's how we both want to be loved. So that's the first thing. The second one I recommend is to find out what your sexual blueprint is. So similar to finding out what your love language is, there are 4 sexual blueprints. I don't remember them all. I just remember 2 of them. One of them is that people like to have sex and get to the end, and that's a big thing for them. And then there's the one where people like the journey more than reaching the end. Those are 2 of them. Gary and I happen to be lucky. Gary and I are both about the journey. So when we are intimate with each other, the journey is really special because that's how we want to love, and that's how we want to be loved. Mm-hmm. And I have a dear friend, mutual friend of ours, Beth Ostrander, who is a specialist in those things. And if people want more information on that, I'll give it to them. So but knowing my love language was so important to me because I knew exactly how to express myself in a way that it would be heard. And I knew how to talk to my man in a way that it would be heard. Um, so if you did nothing else in your relationship, get your love languages flat. However, I'm going to give you a whole host of other things that I do that just took it up to the next level. Mm-hmm. So at 60 years old, I decided that I needed a refresher course in being with a man. And it's like, okay, am I really going to get a refresher course in how to kiss a man? Like, who doesn't know how to kiss a man, right? Mm-hmm. So I bit the dust and I bought the course. It was the best thing that I ever did. How to kiss a man. I don't know, it was on my Facebook feed or something like that. Anyways, I did the modules, or I watched the modules. I didn't even finish the whole course because at this particular time I was already involved with Gary. And Gary will tell you that the first time he kissed me was the day that he fell in love with me.
Wow.
He tells me that all the time. And so the basic premise is, the basic thing is that you always want to kiss your man like you're having a conversation with him. It's not just a kiss. It's not just a doing. It's not just a lick or whatever. Actually be with him like you're having a conversation with him. And I can tell you that when Gary and I are kissing and we're having juicy kisses, his stallion is quite active. Every single time, even after 2 years of being with him, he kisses me, he's excited. I'm good. I'm good.
What are you doing in this kiss exactly?
I'm kissing him like I'm having a conversation.
Like you have something you're sharing through the kiss, pretty much.
It's a way of being. It's a playfulness. It's both. Sometimes I'll withdraw a little bit and make him come to me, and other times I'm just there with him. And if you're in your head telling him, pretend you have no voice and all you have is your mouth and your lips, and you're going to have a conversation to tell him you love him, it'll come out naturally. I promise you.
All right. This is beautiful. Tell us more about the juicy details. Or what creates the juice?
So there's a lot of things I love about Gary, and then there's some that were a little bit challenging, especially in the beginning. I've done a lot of personal development in my life, so I have the ability to take some things that were not going so good in my life and transform them very easily. Gary's done no personal development and has no interest in doing any. So who he is and how he is what's real for him. So that all being said is he's got a very strong justice way of thinking. He does not like injustice. As a result, he has a strong make wrong mechanism. So when he sees something that's not justified, he makes it wrong, right? So good example, or the quickest one that I can think of, his sister was raped when she was a teenager. So he makes men wrong that belittle women, like right off the bat. No matter who they are, he doesn't go for that kind of thing. So that's one thing. But the big thing for me was he would come home from work and all he would talk about was all the things that were not working well at work. This person said this, that person said that, and this happened, and that one's a stupid idiot, and so on and so forth. And I'm thinking, okay, I got to change this guy. There's just something, there's no love here in his heart. And so what I started to do is, in the mornings, he's still in a half asleep, before he's even fully awake, I'd say, I love you, good morning, I love you. And that's it. He has since started saying it back to me. So we spend those first few moments when we're getting up in our love for each other. And we
Mhm.
try and stay at this point, like today, we try and stayed in bed for as long as we could, but eventually nature called and we both had to go to the bathroom.
Yes.
But we cuddled for like, I don't know,
Uh-huh.
10 minutes, 15 minutes or something like that, just holding each other, feeling each other, loving each other as we were sort of half asleep, kind of thing. But when you get up in a space of love, it carries you through the whole day, even if it's just a small I love you. So more and more every day, Gary would talk less and less about the hardships or the injustices out there or the make wrongs, and
Mhm.
more about the good things.
Right.
And the other day I asked him, how was work? He said, oh, it doesn't really matter because I come home to you and I have love anyways.
That's so beautiful. Wow. Mimi, I want to just backtrack for a moment because I know you as a communication expert. You have trained in it, you have trained others in communication. And so it's a natural way for you to think about how is this person feeling? How do I want to make them feel? Are there moments though when you have felt very frustrated and how have you dealt with those moments?
Yes. So this was another thing in my first 6 months with Gary that worked really well. Me being somebody that was well trained and Gary being somebody who wasn't well trained.
Mhm.
So I'm going to exemplify this by a story. We're coming back on a 2-hour drive from a cabin, coming back from, which is 2 hours north of here, back to where I live. And we get into a disagreement is a good way. And I had it like things should go one way. I don't even remember we were talking about it. And he wasn't doing that. It had something to do with figuring out what our future was, but from it, what it had to do with personal development. And at the time, I wasn't clear that he was against personal development. For me, it was my life, right? I know I just use it how I use it. And we're both sitting there in silence. And I know I'm sitting there thinking, okay, this could be the beginning of the end. I knew it was too good to be true. And then I said, Mimi, wait a minute. I said, you get to choose which way this is going to go. Clearly, you are the one that has to take the step to have the communication that's going to turn this thing. So are you going to do it?
Yeah.
So I did, because I knew that Gary was something special. And I knew that because I was the one with the training, that I was the one that had to use that training, not in a way where I have to coach him, but I had to be the one to nurture the relationship. So I said to him, penny for your thoughts. That's all I said to him, penny for your thoughts. And then I allowed him to outflow everything. I just let him say everything, verbal diarrhea, whatever was there. And I said, thank you for sharing that. And then I recreated his experience, not what he said, but his experience. And then from there, we got back onto the same page because I allowed that dialogue to happen.
Mhm. And
Later
recreate
on,
his experience. What does that look like?
his experience,
Mhm.
um, that would look like, I would say, instead of repeating back to him exactly what he said to me, I would say, oh my God, I'm clear that you're frustrated and pissed off because you really don't want to do this thing. Now, he didn't turn around and say he was frustrated and pissed off, but I could see that that was his experience. And just acknowledging that that was his experience, really calmed him down at the same time.
Right. Okay. Perfect.
Now, further along, when we had moments where one or the other of us were a little bit more emotionally volatile, shall we say,
Mhm.
right? We created that what's going to happen is one of us is going to walk away. So, and it's not like we get into these big, horrible arguments. It's like something will happen and, some based conversation will happen and I'll just yell, or he'll just yell at me for something, and one of us will just walk away. And then, 5 or 10 minutes later, we rejoin and apologize and continue along our day like nothing happened. But we created that when we get into those little tizzy moments, that one of us is going to walk away and just allow the space to calm down a little bit. That's it. And that is one of the keys of our relationship, because we know how to deal with the shitty moments or the bad moments or the hard moments. Because if you can figure that out, the rest of it is easy, because the good moments are easy. Right. If you figure out with each other how to deal with the not so good moments, you're laughing.
Yeah. And a lot of people escape out of relationships, and why there's so much dating versus commitment and something long term. Sure, it's okay to test out, but how did you know with Gary that he was special and it was worth it to bring everything and to trust the process, that it would be reciprocated?
I'm so glad you asked me that question. So after I was divorced, I had the opportunity to work with Leslie Thompson, who is a relationship coach. She was in my network. And she did a session with me where I created my ideal man. Mm-hmm. And I marked down all the things I wanted to see in my ideal man. She said, picture him in your mind. So I had to know what he looked like, what he did for a living, his personality traits, all those kinds of things. And I created that. And it's an ideal. It's not like I was looking for my ideal, but I certainly know that if somebody wasn't even close to my ideal, that they might not be the right person for me. So at the time when I met Gary, I knew that there were certain things that I wanted. Somebody with a heart, integrity, somebody that loves the land, a whole variety of different things. And so it was easy for me. I didn't even look at the list till after I met him, probably by a month or two. I went, oh yeah, I should check my list. Turns out he had 95% of the things on the list. Mm-hmm. And there were things that he didn't. And there's things that I live with that were on the list, because the things that, that were not on the list, because the things that are on the list are just so precious. I mean, waking up to being told every day that you're loved, like it's the first time he's telling it to you, or the first time he's expressing it to you, there's nothing beats that.
That's so beautiful. Tell us more about what he brings into the relationship, how he treats you.
He treats me like a queen.
Yes.
He calls me his queen. But he will, I can remember, it just moves me when I think about it. I was sitting up here and I was working. So he has a job outside of the house. I'm an entrepreneur and I work at my desk here. And there was a day where I was going from Zoom meeting to Zoom meeting to Zoom meeting, and he was quite aware that I was missing a meal. Mm-hmm. He loves to cook. He cooked me a fantastic meal and brought it up to me and served it to me. I didn't even have to move. I didn't even have to ask for it. I didn't have to, all of a sudden it was sitting there at the corner of my desk. I mean, I don't know any man that does that. He just did it. Or I say to him, honey, I'm sorry, I'm not going to have time to wash the dishes. I have to run upstairs. He goes, oh, don't worry, I'll do them. Or little things like that. And most of them are things that our culture relates to women's work, mm-hmm. which is not women's work, but he takes on he takes on being my partner in my life. And that's one of the big things in our relationship. We're partners with each other. So I have no problem taking out the garbage, even though he prefers that I don't. I have no problem feeding the cat. It's his cat. I have no problem taking a screwdriver or a hammer to fix something, even though he's the man in the house. Mm-hmm. But it becomes a partnership. is a good way to say that. I never thought I'd have a partner in life. I thought it would be, okay, you have to do these things and he has to do these things, and that's it. Partners. We call each other partners. And we're partners with our finances too. So we each have our own personal accounts, and we have a joint account. And the joint account is where our bills are paid from. And it's also, we have a joint investment account for our cryptocurrency. We
Right.
each put in the same amount of money. So we have partnership all the way down the road.
Beautiful. You've seen a lot of people go through in and out of relationships. You've coached hundreds and thousands of people. What do you see are some common themes about why people aren't having great relationships and what's happening? What are the themes?
Well, definitely, I think that people are waiting for the relationship to happen to them instead of for them doing things to make a great relationship. So one of the ways I express myself in my love for Gary is when I'll think about things that he has to do, and then I will do things to make it easier for him.
Mhm.
So for example, when he's making his lunch for work, he has a very specific way of making lunch. In the beginning, I wouldn't even get in his way. He's got it timed down to the second, and then he's out the door. I could barely get a kiss from him. And now what I do is I put the bread in the toaster, I take out the greens, I take out all the ingredients for his thing, I take the apple and the brownies and everything, and I put it in his lunch bag. The knife is on the counter, and he still makes his sandwich and runs out the door, but everything's ready for him.
That's so sweet.
Another thing I do for him is he gets very he gets sorry, I would say 62 different things. Something that he works the night shift,
Mhm.
the afternoon shift, so he comes home at about 11:30 at night. I make sure there's always a light on outside for him,
Mhm.
and he never had a light on outside for him before. Nobody turned the light on for him outside before, so the small thing like that. Um, he also is very sensitive to light. So I make sure that there's no light in the room before we go to sleep. And sometimes he'll sleep with a sock. He doesn't use a sleeping mask, he uses one of his socks. I make sure the sock is next to his bed every night so that he can reach for it in the middle of the night. He doesn't even have to think about where it is.
Right.
So it's thinking ahead of what he might need. So his birthday came up.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, by the way, have you thought about whether you have to renew your license or get stickers for the cars or stuff like that? So I just try to keep him on top of things. And part of that is a Mimiism also, because I'm all about the planning and the management and the you know, the calendaring and stuff like that. But by being able to foresee what he might need, I get to be a partner for him and really support him in what he's up to. Another example is we're in gardening season right now. Most people wouldn't think it's gardening season because we just had snow here in this realm of the world. But in Gary's world, you start your seeds now from seedling. And so we've started lettuce and kale and tomatoes and stuff all from seeds. So I made sure that there was earth here for him to do that. He didn't ask me to do that. He didn't send me to the store to make sure we had earth. He didn't, but I just made the tools, sure the tools were ready. I knew it was the end of February, beginning of March. That's what happens. Get all the stuff ready and make sure it's there. And those are some of the ways that I be his partner, an active partner in his life, is I support him with what he's up to, doing those little things. So he's not left feeling like he's alone. He
Mhm.
has a partner and somebody has his back.
That's beautiful. You are blessed. You have created this and you are blessed. And it's got me thinking there's been a destiny to you being in this relationship with Gary. And you've been together for 2 years and you've skyrocketed to this level, this standard of partnership. Why do you think it happened now in your life?
Hmm.
I'm asking because, for example, I've dated quite a few people, and some I thought, why didn't it work out? Or why hasn't it happened for me that I'm in this fairy tale marriage that I see a lot of people in? And I know there's struggles in those as well. But I want to speak a bit about the patience that it takes to just be in the destiny of our lives.
Right. So here's what I'm going to say, and it's Gary and I bring this up all the time. We very often wish that we met each other 20 or 40 years ago. I love him so much that I wish I can give him a child. And I've already committed to not having children in this lifetime. So for me to love somebody that much that I want to give them a child is like huge, right?
Mhm.
And at the same time, I know that if I would have met him 20 or 40 years ago, it would never have worked out because who I was at that time was not ready for this kind of a relationship. Who I was at that time was somebody that was more needy and was more looking for somebody to take care of me rather than me being a partner in a relationship. So that's one thing. And I'm very glad that I went through everything that I went through to prepare me to meet Gary. Everything was a stepping stone to meet Gary. My marriage, I did so much work in communication and how to be with somebody inside of communicate. It was wonderful. It was like the foundation for this relationship. So when you look at that, I think you're about half my age or so. I mean, we look the same age, but
Yeah.
half my age. Learn about relationships with each one. There's each relationship has its own journey, and you'll never know when you're at the end until you're at the end. So be on the yellow brick road of that relationship and squeeze the juice out of it, whatever that juice is. And eventually, if the juice is finished squeezing, that's okay. Part great company and find another fruit to squeeze.
It sounds so simple said. And then there's also the process of dealing with the emotions of it. There's a course called Conscious Uncoupling
Yeah.
that I'm now reviewing for the second time because it's tough to break away from someone. Can you share a little bit about how you've uncoupled from your marriage that has also created the foundation of where you are right now?
Yes, and I'm gonna say another thing in answer to a previous question, but I am gonna answer that one. One of the really important things about finding a partner is making sure you both have the same goals in life.
Mhm.
So that was one of the other things how I knew Gary was the one for me. Gary had a dream of creating a sustainable permaculture community. I had a dream of creating a community for elder professionals that was also health minded. I didn't have the words of sustainability and permaculture at the time. I had the words, I knew that I wanted a garden and I wanted people to be living off the land. So we both wanted that for different reasons, but our life goals were the same and they overlapped. And that was one of the reasons. That was like, oh my God, somebody who's going to be my partner in causing this goal. Gary's was, for him, it was such a dream. He never thought that he would have it in this lifetime. And now he sees that he's going to have it with me.
Right.
So really important to have the same goal, know what your vision is for your life, and make sure your partner has a similar vision. Ask me your other question again.
The process of, because you mentioned squeezing the juice out of one relationship
Yeah.
and then moving to the next when it's done. In that dry period, it can feel like a dry period and the fear of letting go and seeing maybe there's more to squeeze out of it, but there's nothing.
I'm so glad you asked me this question because before I met Gary, I was, let's call it, involved with somebody else who scammed me.
Mhm.
And being scammed, well, it teaches you a lot. But I'm going to say that people who are scammed are not stupid. People who are scammed are acting on their heartfelt feeling for somebody. I was scammed of $15,204. And it wasn't money I had lying around in my sock drawer. But when you care about somebody, you trust them. When they say they're going to send you the money in 3 weeks, you trust that they're going to do that. You don't think that they're lying to you. So you expect it to come back. So I started to suspect this guy was scamming me. Suspect, didn't have proof. And then the day came that I found the proof.
Mm-hmm.
And it was gut-wrenching, because here you are, your whole being is invested in this person, and now you're finding out that you're being taken, like the feelings are not being returned. It's very, very, very arresting, and it takes something. And I sat there and I said, and there was a moment there when I was going to try and make him love me, a moment. And I went, no, Mimi, there's nothing for you to do. It's not real. You cared about something that was not real. And I had to keep reminding myself it wasn't real, it wasn't real, it wasn't real. And within 24 hours, with the help from a lot of different friends, I think I spoke to you, I spoke to a grief coach, I spoke to a few other people who helped me get rid of that grief. Within 24 hours, I had my profile up on a dating site again, because I was able to deal with that emotion. And I'm not saying that everybody would get through it in 24 hours. I happen to be really good at turning my emotional corners. But what I'm trying to say is, we hang on to emotions because we're hanging on to a hope,
Mm-hmm.
or a dream, or a wished for, or it could have been, or you're pining after a loss of what could have been. The thing to do is to put it to rest. It's not going to, you have to accept it's not going to happen. It's not going forward. What it was good for what it was. And now I get to take that and move forward into something else. And you have to talk, like literally talk yourself into that, because you have to turn your heart. The heart is very strong, extraordinarily strong. It'll make you do things you wouldn't even imagine that you would do. I went and took out a freaking loan for this guy. I wouldn't take out a loan for myself because I cared about him. Yeah. So you have to talk to your heart. And when you talk to your heart, you're talking to your brain. And if you're talking to yourself out loud, good, because your brain has to hear it. Your ears have to hear it. You are okay. You are not stupid. You are loved. Regardless of whether this person loves you or not, you are loved. And there's going to be somebody else who will love you in the way that you want. And you just keep reminding yourself of that. And you go on to the next experience. Do I know if Gary and I are going to last till the end of time? No, but I certainly hope so.
Mm-hmm.
But if we don't, I'll move on to the next person. Let me put it to you another way. I'm expecting to live a very long life. I would like to live to about 150, because I want to spend my time causing peace on the planet. And it's important for me to really create that impact to cause peace on the planet. Gary, on the other hand, is expecting that he's going to pass, well, his parents passed at about 80. Mm-hmm. And he's thinking that maybe he'll last till 90. Now we're about the same age, but with a 2-year difference. So that would mean that I'm going to be living approximately 50 or 60 years without him. So at some point, right, there's going to be a separation between him and I. I don't expect to get into another relationship after, but my heart will be with Gary, but I will be who I know myself to be, having let him go. And for me, I'll be sitting there at that time, not hoping or wishing or praying that he lived longer, but thankful for every second that we had, appreciating every second that we have, appreciating every memory that I carry with me forward. Because every time I cuddle with him in the morning, I memorize it, because there's going to be those years when I'm 125 and Gary's not with me, and that's all I'm going to have. are the memories of him cuddling me.
Mhm. I feel that. And so you're appreciating it even more and more and more.
Yes, every second I appreciate.
Yeah, you are squeezing all the lemons, the oranges, and you are enjoying the juice every day.
Right.
Good.
And because I appreciate it, and that I know that it's not going to last forever, and that most likely I will outlive him.
Mhm.
I Each moment is precious, and I don't want to waste it in anger, and I don't want to waste it in upset. So I just do what I create workability. So if something's not working for me, I don't get angry or pissy or yell. I just ask him a question about it and say, hey, what do you think about this? Or can we do this? Or what would happen if we shifted this? Or and get into a dialogue about it, as opposed to getting pissy about something not going the way I want it to go. And I work it out before it gets into something that's upsetting.
Wow.
That's it. I wish I could have like 50 years with him. I know it's going to be 30 years at most. 30, if I'm lucky, 40 years. I'm trying to do some healing on him. So I'm hoping that he's got asthma, and so his heart and lungs are affected. So I'm hoping that my healing will help him last a little bit longer.
And you shared a miracle about that with me recently, that your healing is working.
Yes, yes, my healing is working. So I've been certified as a divine healing hands healer. And what that is channeling the divine to bring healing to people. And I had surgery back in January, and I was doing healing on myself and in the mornings before I would get up after my cuddles. Oh no, it would be before Gary got up. So it was before my cuddles. And and I started to do healing on Gary for his heart and his lungs. And he's 6'1", and he used to be very crouched down like this, and now he's standing up straighter. He also had psoriasis on his left shin, and it disappeared. And psoriasis is a heart lung issue, or a lung issue rather. So there are a variety of different things that are, working.
Mhm.
And if it's not that, something's working, and I'm still appreciative. um, but yeah, I'm out to heal him. My goal is to heal him with love, whatever that looks like. Whether that's having him feel so much love in his heart that it transforms everything else that was not going well in his life, or it's um, healing his lungs, or through divine healing hands, or whatever that is. I'm just going to heal him with my love so that he could be around as long as I could possibly have him.
Yes, and you said 30 to 40 years, possibly 50, 60, and that is a long time. That is a very long time. What is one of your immediate goals together as a couple that you're looking forward to?
We are going to be building a house together. It's going to be the first house in our sustainable permaculture community. Um, so that's the first goal. And that we're hoping that we can start building next summer. It might not happen till the following summer. That's the first one. Yeah. He's in charge of, actually around that, he's in charge of the land and how all that's going to look. I'm in charge of the business and how we're going to get other people in the other houses that are not built yet, but how I'm going to do that.
This is amazing. It's so efficient. I think, Mimi, for you to share more wisdom about how you have these conversations that are so effective is very powerful. And maybe we do some more talks around that, or you create something to show how you go about these conversations, because there is a process.
There is. And I'm going to leave people with one last thing. If all else fails, always acknowledge your partner if they're a male. And if your partner's a female, make sure they feel secure.
Right.
So women really like to feel secure as a generality. Men thrive on acknowledgement as a generality. And so I do make sure that I acknowledge Gary for at least one thing every day, however small it could be. It could be thanking him for loving me, it could be thanking him for that fantastic dinner, it could be thanking him for opening the door for me. It could be, thanking him for starting this garden so that I have lettuce to eat in the summertime. Whatever it is, right? Thank. And another thing, and I don't know why or how this works, this was from the course on kissing, on how to be a great kisser. Kiss, if it's a him, his bicep. I
Okay.
don't know, at least once a day, kiss his bicep. I don't know what it does for them. I don't even remember. I just do it.
And he loves it.
He doesn't say he doesn't, but I think it does something for their manlyhood.
Yeah, well, bicep is the heart, is where the heart is. So maybe it's direct connection with the heart.
Maybe, I don't know, but and everything all together in that cauldron of things, the I love you, the appreciation, the acknowledgement, the partnership, the doing, doing things that in advance that he would need, or like all those things, turning the light on, become a cauldron of things that you do as an expression of your love for somebody else. And it has you be an active participant in causing your relationship.
That's extraordinary. You're initiating a lot and they're bringing something into it as well. And it's through osmosis, through just the laws of reciprocity that it gets multiplied then.
Yes, exactly.
Beautiful. Let's close it here. This has been phenomenal. Thank you, Mimi, for sharing everything. Anything you want the audience to know about how they can reach out to you or any last little tips?
Yes, you're more than welcome to reach out to me on Facebook. My Facebook page is Mimi Thrasher, and you can message me, or if you want to email me, it's mimithrasher@gmail.com. I'm so happy to share with you or listen to, whatever your concern or challenge may be, or maybe you don't have a challenge and you just want to talk about how to have a great relationship. I am completely open. It's not something that I do for money. I do it from the love of my heart. So I'm happy to speak to people.
Beautiful. And then there's the Peace Summit.
Oh my God, yes. So thank you for mentioning that. So I am the host and producer of Peace, the Pulse of Humanity Global Summit that's taking place on September the 11th. And Katie will be one of the recorded speakers. I'm so excited about that because I bring love and peace to people, because when people have inner peace, the world has outer peace. That's going to be exciting. So, people want to know more about that, they should just go to my Facebook page, because when the time comes that the event is on, I'm going to put it all up there. It's the best way.
Amazing. And it's going to be great content on relationships, health, spirituality, all the life
Well, yeah,
concepts.
peace and wealth, peace and health, peace in relationships, and peace and spirituality.
Beautiful. Thank you, Mimi, for everything that you do. You have enlightened me so much in this conversation and everyone that is going to listen.
Thank you so much for having me, Katie.